Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. I know that I always say I'm gonna keep my intros brief and then they end up being like 5 minutes long, but today I mean business because these contact lenses have overstayed their welcome, as well as these fangs. Oh god, I'm actually gonna take them off right now. As you can see, I am back today serving Medusa realness. I'll give you another look at my little crown here. This took me about 2 to 3 days to construct. I've wanted to do a Medusa look on YouTube for about 2 years now. When I was in makeup school, I forget what module we were in, but I did a Medusa inspired look and I actually used these exact snakes. And I remember having a bunch left over, so I went to my mom's and I dug through a bunch of my old shit and I was able to find a bag of these rubber snakes left over. I ended up going to the same dollar store that I went to like 6 years ago when I was in makeup school, and I found more of them, and then I bought some other types of snakes and I just kind of put this together, and you'll see that in the video. I filmed the entire process to the best of my ability because it was super difficult, but I'm really happy with how this turned out. I just wish contact lenses were more comfortable to wear. I've been sitting here for about 5 hours filming, and I think it would have taken half the time had I not been wearing these little bastards in my eyes. Taking them out, by the way, is absolutely terrifying for me. To all you contact lens wearers out there, you're the real MVPs. This time around, I wasn't inspired by one specific painting or photograph. I was actually inspired by Medusa tattoos in general. I googled Medusa tattoos and found like 50 of them. So I just sort of combined little bits and pieces from all of them and came up with this situation. So I really hope you guys enjoy this video. I put a lot of work into it, and I really hope that this footage turned out and that I end up doing a really kick-ass job editing. I'm gonna go stand in the shower for about 40 minutes and forget who I am, and then I'm gonna watch American Horror Story Hotel episode 3. If you guys enjoyed this video, please share it with your friends and give it a thumbs up. This is the closest I'm ever gonna get to a real snake. Thank you guys very much for watching, thank you for subscribing, and we will see you in our next video. Bye. Okay, so for this look, I started by mapping out my right eye off camera because I didn't really know what I wanted to do. So I'm just gonna start by filling in my brows with a dark gray shade on my left side. I figured dark eyebrows would be a little bit more villainous. I'm priming my eyelids, and then I'm taking a bit of my NYX Jumbo Eye Pencil in Milk, and I'm heavily applying it to my brow bone and the inner portion of my eyelid. I'm then setting those areas with a white eyeshadow from my BH Cosmetics 120 color palette. I believe this is the 2nd edition. This palette is absolutely perfect for Halloween looks. I'm now using this black eye crayon and I'm applying it to my lash line in sort of like a thick winged shape. And then I'm gonna blow that out with a flat synthetic brush, and this is gonna act as a base. By the way, all of the products that I'm using will be listed in the description box below. I'm then tearing off a little edge of paper towel, and I'm using it as a guide so that the outer edge of my eye is really sharp. And I'm just gonna pack on that black eyeshadow over the area where I've placed the black pencil. I'm going for a super strong, badass, winged eyeshadow look, if you know what I'm saying. So I'm focusing this shade on the outer edge of my eye. I'm then taking a smaller blending brush and I'm gonna extend that eyeshadow from the crease all the way to where my nose bone is. But I'm making sure not to disrupt the eyeshadow just below that area in the inner corner of my eye because I want to have that snake-like effect. As always, if I'm not making total sense with my words, watching this should be pretty self-explanatory. And then I'm going to take some more of that white and I'm going to touch up the inner portion of my eye so that it didn't get lost. And I'm also going to touch up that black on the start of my eye so it's nice and sharp. I'm not going to shy away from pulling this black eyeshadow all the way up to the beginning of my brow. You want to do that. You just want to darken that whole area and sort of connect the eyeshadow to the beginning of the brow. I'm running that jumbo eye pencil in my waterline and I'm going to blend it into my tear duct, and then I'm hopping over to lashes. So today I'm stacking two styles, starting with the Socialize eyelashes in Vamp. These are great because they're super dramatic on the edges, and then I'm going to layer Red Cherry 43s over top. I would highly suggest stacking them beforehand, like before you apply them to your actual eyelashes. It'll make your life so much easier, but I felt like living life in the fast lane and making it twice as hard for myself, YOLO. Moving on to my face, I'm first starting by priming it with the Tarte Clean Slate Smoothing Primer, I believe this is. I'm doing this because I want it to fill my pores so that all the mess that I'm about to apply to my face doesn't seep into my pores instead. I'm taking this old Cover FX foundation. I'm using this because it's the lightest shade I own, and I'm mixing it with a little bit of green, blue, and black from my Makeup Forever Flash palette. This is going to give me a really sickly green shade. I was trying to achieve that vomit chic look, if you know what I'm saying. I did one layer of the foundation, then I set it, then I did another layer, and then I set it again. And I did this to my face, my neck, and my collarbone. You could totally go all out and do the arms as well as the rest of your chest, which I would highly recommend, but I had a really long day and I could barely see shit, and I didn't want to take too long rinsing off in the shower, which, by the way, ended up happening anyway, and you'll find out why shortly. Just another day in my life. I went back in and I touched up that white, and I sort of extended it just below my bottom lash line to make my eyes appear larger, and then I added a bit of black eyeshadow just below it, and I blew it out for a more smoky look because, you know, Medusa's a glamorous bitch too. Now I'm just kind of starting to highlight and contour my face. Rather than using your normal contour and highlight shades, I'm using shades of black, dark green, and light green, using black and dark green as contour and light green as highlight. I was initially going to draw scales on my face and go all out with texture and that type of thing, but I was blind as a bat with these contact lenses, so I didn't want to put myself through that. I would have put my contacts in after doing my makeup, but I'm 99.9% certain that I would have fucked up my entire makeup look doing that. I just can't have things in and around my eyes. I'm one of those people. I also decided to add some contouring to my lips and create little snake-like slits on the sides of my mouth, and I'm also shading the very center of my lip. I feel like that adds a nice touch. And then what I did is I took the gold from my Flash palette and I applied it just to my Cupid's bow. Then I just started randomly shading in my neck and my collarbone with shades of black and dark green and light green and forest green. Every green in this palette was applied to that area. I didn't do this in any specific pattern. And then I took this mesh material that I had, I pressed it against the dark areas where I've contoured my face, my neck, and my collarbone. And I filled it in with black and green, and then I filled it in with gold. And this sort of gave the appearance of very, very subtle scales. If you take the time, you could actually make this look unreal, especially if you have the proper stencils. You'd probably Google some pretty sweet stencils online and then just cut them out with an X-Acto knife or something, but I kept it super minimal. This part I was so stoked about, and it ended up being a bitch to remove from my skin. So I went to the dollar store, I found a bunch of temporary tattoos that I thought would look wicked as chest pieces. All you do is pull the plastic off them, apply them to the skin, dab them with water, and then peel them off. I think they look so good. While they look amazing, and I was so happy with how they turned out, I don't know how much I trust dollar store things that adhere to the skin because they're probably just packed with chemicals. So I wouldn't advise keeping these on for too long. Because they were so fresh on my skin, removal was a nightmare, and by the time I was done showering, my chest was raw and pulsing, so just keep that in mind. Then I went off camera to curl my hair and inserted some fangs that I got from the special effects store, and then I topped my lips with a little bit of this gold Lise Watier lip gloss that I've had for about 100 years. Oh, and I also found this dope-ass gold snake arm wrap at the dollar store as well. The dollar store is just killing it in the costume department. You can find so so many cool little props. Alright guys, y'all know what time it is. Time to get Martha Stewart up in this bitch. Let's make a headpiece, shall we? So I found 3 types of snakes. One is super long and rubbery. The next one is harder rubber and it is not flexible at all, and the last ones are these little harder rubber snakes, and again they're not flexible at all, which is exactly what you need. It is very important that you find snakes that are solid rubber and not flexible at all, because they will be what holds your headpiece together, if that makes any sense. So the snakes were black and they were not to my liking. I wanted them to have some dimension and color, so I laid them out on some paper, mixed a few acrylic paints together to get the desired green shade that I wanted, and I very lightly painted them. I wanted to leave some of their natural black shade visible, so I was very careful when I was painting them so that the scales on them sort of stood out. You don't want to saturate the snake in paint because then you'll lose that scale-like texture. I then took some gold spray paint and I sprayed them in sections, and again making sure that some of that green and black is still peeking through. I did this with all of my snakes and I laid them out on my patio overnight. I'd say I used about 12 long rubber snakes, 3 hard rubber snakes, and a bag of the little snakes. So the next day, once they were done drying, I started building. I got this foam head from Michael's, and I got a clear headband with loops on it from the dollar store, and I began glue gunning the littlest snakes into place along the front. This kind of helped me to map out exactly what the hell I wanted to do, because I won't lie, I had no clue how I wanted this to look. I just knew I wanted it to look bomb. So the little snakes really helped to start the look off. All I used to adhere and keep the snakes in place was a glue gun and floral wire. And I'm pretty sure you can find this at Michael's, Walmart, pretty much any store should have it. If the glue wasn't doing the job, I would go in with my floral wire and some pliers and put those snakes in their place. The wire is a great way to secure the snakes because you don't want them coming apart while you're out living your life on Halloween. Oh, and be careful with that floral wire because it can go from 0 to 100 on your ass real quick. I stabbed myself like 4 or 5 times. Medic! I've been impaled. I discovered that the super long rubbery snakes were just not having the glue gun whatsoever. The glue would dry on the snake and then it would slide right off. It must be something about rubber on rubber action, I'm not sure, but it didn't work out for me. So for the longer snakes, the only way to keep them in place was to wire them to the headband or to another snake close by, or to run the wire through the snake, which made them bendy and allowed them to wrap around something. If you plan on making this headpiece, I would give yourself a day or 2 or 3. So if you watch this video today and you're like, oh shit, I wanna do this, run to the store, look for snakes ASAP, and then start on the headpiece as soon as possible so it's nice and ready for you on Halloween. And make sure when you're looking for snakes that you find different types, especially the ones that are hard and rubber and not bendy at all. So like the really, really big ones that I have in the center of the headpiece, those are gonna be your foundation for it. I was mistaken and I purchased way too many of the rubbery snakes because I thought I'd MacGyver the whole situation and I'd be able to make them bendy and run wire through them to make them stand up, but that would have honestly taken an entire day on its own. So I'm lucky that I was able to have those 3 large loopy snakes at the front of the headpiece because they just saved the entire crown. So I did some research on our girl Medusa, and apparently she was so hideous that she would turn men into stone. It wasn't always like that though. She was a dime before she was cursed to look like a living nightmare. I, on the other hand, decided to make my makeup look a little bit more attractive than what mythologists described, for obvious reasons. Listen, if you want to go balls to the wall and stick to the script and make yourself hideous like the myths claim she was, I'm fully supportive of that decision. Make sure to tag me on Instagram because I'd love to see it. I don't know if you can tell this about me by now, but as much as I love doing Halloween makeup, I just live for prop and costume making. Something about costume design has always stood out to me, and I've always enjoyed doing it, and I find it very creatively fulfilling, even if I only get to wear the costume or the prop one time. It's nice being able to sort of document it in a video and have it forever. So once everything is said and done, this is what I ended up with. I then placed it on my head, and then I bobby pinned a few more rubber snakes throughout my head just underneath my headband. And I did this by stabbing the bobby pin through the rubber snake, which was really easy to do. And I very carefully styled my hair around it. And that completes my Medusa makeup and snake headpiece tutorial. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you decide to recreate it, please share photos with me. Either tweet them at me or post them on Instagram and hashtag #thebeautyvault. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. As always, thank you guys very much for watching. Thank you for subscribing. Have a safe and fun Halloween, and I will see you in my next video. Bye!